This year alone, in the last 11 months, we have only been home at our Dallas home for 17 days. We have visited 9 countries, 17 states, 33 cities, attended 17 in person events, 5 virtual events, have invested well over $700,000 in coaching and masterminds. And at the same time, in May, we just hit $10 million in revenue. And today, in this video, I'm going to share with you the moment that we made this decision to live this way and how we actually got here. But first, I want to share with you our life was never this way. And as a matter of fact, I never thought that lives like this existed for me and my wife. So you see, we started with very little, and we didn't have the dream life. We didn't have the dream business. We were just working for people, and we didn't have a dream team. Leveraging people or delegating, automating our business was not something that we were used to. We were conditioned to be just normal people, to live, work, get a great education, and hopefully one day retire. So I'm going to take you back in time on how we came to live a life of freedom. And it really started in 2018. I actually had the very worst year of my life. That was after 13 years, me and my wife been running our business. So we started our business in December 3rd of 2005. 13 years building a great life, building a great business, saving up for our retirement. And at the end of 2018, I lost it all. Ended up losing $5 million. At the beginning of that year, it was seeing your losses starting to roll down the hill. And as that little snowball keeps getting bigger and bigger, till at the end of 2018, I ended up doing $5 million in losses. So 2019 comes around. I was stressed. I was overworked. I was frustrated with myself. And quite honestly, I'd lost myself. And there was an event that my wife found, a Tony Robbins event in Los Angeles called UPW. And she said, you know what, if Tony can't fix this guy, no one can. So she literally bought a ticket for us to go to UPW, and it was life-changing. It was, I think, at the end of February of 2019. And after being that event, it looked like I had just woken up. I had been sleepwalking. So I asked myself the question, what have I been doing for the last 44 years? I was much more aware of the life that I actually wanted to live versus the life that I was actually living in that moment. So we purchased a coaching offer from Tony called Mastery University. And later that year, and about 5 months later, we went to a second event of his called Business Mastery. And we learned at the end of Business Mastery what the life that we want to live, as well as the type of business we actually wanted to be in. But something happened at the end of Business Mastery. This is literally like 3 days after us leaving the event. I was working, doing my normal schedule. It was a Saturday afternoon. My wife calls me and says, hey, after work, do you want to go to have dinner? And I said, yes, most definitely. But something felt weird. And we went to dinner, picked her up, we sat at the restaurant, and literally the very first thing after the host gave us our menus, she reached out and took her ring off her finger and said, I don't think this is working out. And she says, and this coming Monday, I'm actually leaving for Singapore with the kids for a month. I just need some time. I was like, what just happened? Been together for literally 14 years at that time. Alexander was 3 years old. Troy was just been born. He's about a year old. And I was like, man, I'm losing everything. I lost all this money. I lost myself. I lost my business. Now I'm going to lose my family. During your biggest setbacks, probably the most painful experiences of your life, but looking back now, what breaks you really is a blessing, right? So those 30 days was amazing. She went off and had her time. I spent some time with myself, and I spent asking myself a lot of deep questions in terms of what is my purpose of life? Who am I? What was I before? And who was I before and who I wasn't? So I found myself basically looking at the problems that I had, and I realized something, which is what Tony said. When things happen to you, it either crushes you or it creates you. And I wanted that moment to be a moment of creation, creating the new me. So she comes back from Singapore, and I had this massive transformation really in a very short period of time, about 3 weeks. I had lost a bunch of weight. I was quite overweight back then, lost a bunch of weight, new attitude, new personality, kind of really found myself again. I was happy. And she came back, and first thing she gets in the car, and I can sense that she liked the transformation. But she was still hesitant because I hurt us, right? I hurt her, I hurt our family, definitely hurt myself in the process. But I was a new person, and she was still hesitant, reluctant, and slow. She wanted to go slow. And I gave her that space, gave her that time. And what really changed it all was a couple months after that, in December of 2019, we went to a 20 event called Date with Destiny. And when you go to Date with Destiny, you learn about these primary questions that you actually have. And my question that I came up with after Date with Destiny that we came up with together was, if time and money was not an issue, how would we be living? If time and money was not an issue, how would we be living? I'm going to share with you a tool that you guys can actually use to make way better decisions, and it starts with your primary question. So that was one of our primary questions. It was a great question because we have never asked ourselves that question before. We have always asked, what do we do? What are we doing next? Where are we going? Things like that. But how would we be living? So she did her homework. She drafted up how she would be living. I did the same exact thing as well. And we came up with very similar answers, which is basically this. We wanted to go where we want, when we want, stay as long as we want, and bring as many people as we can. So that was our freedom. That's how we want to live life if time and money was not an issue. So we created basically this framework that has really fast forward to us achieving that, and that's really what I want to share with you. See, most people think that you start with your career. We're conditioned, go to school, get an education. You learn what you're supposed to be doing, what profession, how much money you're going to make, and all those things, your job, your career, your profession. But nobody really teaches you to look at yourself first. So the very first thing we did was, this is a three-step framework. The very first framework is strengthen your imagination. And when we were kids, we had all kinds of imagination. We thought we ran faster or we could fly, all of those things, right? Because really the only limitation is really your imagination. So strengthening your imagination is basically your why. This is your why. This is what I call your dream life. Who are you? Why do you exist? Where are you? Who are you with? What are you doing there? Why are you there? What's your dream life look like? And so for us, we came up with the answer of we wanted to go where we want, when we want, stay as long as we want, bring in as many people as we can. That is freedom. So strengthen your imagination for the very first time was we didn't look at what business we're going to run, what we were going to do, but who we actually are, right? Which then created another primary question, which is the second. Then after you design your dream life, then you scale your income generation. So then it becomes your business. Scale your income generation is your what? Right? This is your what. So now what are you going to do about it? You got to build a business, right? We've been entrepreneurs at that time for 14 years. So now we have this dream life. Let's really design your dream business to fund and fuel it, right? So what are you selling? Who are you selling to? Why are you selling it? Where are you making your offer? How do you design your dream business to actually fund and fuel your dream life? And then third is then systematize your implementation, which is your who, your how, and your who. See, I believe that most are information rich, but implementation poor. This is where you go and you find now what the business you're looking to run to generate income, to scale, and to make money, and to wake up and do what you know and love, to sell your offer, sell your products, run your challenges, your webinars, your events, whatever it is that you're doing to fund and fuel your dream life, there's got to be a how and there's got to be a who. So this is where you delegate and automate. We realized that if we wanted to go where we want, when we want, we needed to be in a business that allowed us to travel and live and have that freedom and to live, work, and earn from anywhere to become what we call anywhere entrepreneurs. So that's where we shifted our business online in 2020. That's where I found our very first mentor in the online space, which is Russell Brunson. We went to an event of his called Funnel Hacking Live in Nashville, Tennessee. And that's where we learned what we were going to sell, who we're going to sell to, why did we create this offer, where are we going to make our offer, and really went from a traditional entrepreneurs to an online business, an online entrepreneur, where I call now an anywhere entrepreneur. So that's really set the tone for us to build a business that allowed us to live a life of freedom. And then now it's like systematize your implementation is really how do you do it and who you actually do it with. So that's why today we want to share with you how if you have a life of freedom, because yours might be different than ours, but if you really want a life where you have control, where, if time and money for you was not an issue, you can go where you want, when you want. You can stay as long as you want, bring as many people as you can. You don't have to travel and be away from your home for only 17 days for 11 months. But if you have your version of freedom, and if you want to learn how to scale your implementation, how to scale your income generation, systematize your implementation, really build the business to fund and fuel that, me and my wife are actually running a challenge called the Dream Life, Dream Business Challenge. We're going to walk you through how to map out and really design your dream life so that you can then decide to live it and then really develop a business to fund and fuel it, and then most importantly, deploy your dream team to implement and execute the things that you need done so that you can stay in your lane, so that you live life on your terms and wake up every single day running a business that you love. If you want to click on the link below, we'll see you there.